Hello, welcome to Jessie at Home. In this video, I am going to show you how to make this knit patriotic placemat. So what I'm actually going to show you is how to make the rectangle, and I'm just going to make a little sample like this one to show you how to make the sample. I have attached the pattern to this video so that you can see how many stitches are necessary to make the placemat and when to put your stripes in. And as you can see, the placemat is worked at a diagonal, and if you follow the pattern I've attached, you will get a blue triangle in the top left corner, and then your red and white stripes going across from there. So it's a nice representation of the flag without actually putting your food down on a copy of the flag. And one of the things I do like to do when using this placemat is to have a star-shaped, a white star-shaped coaster right over here for your drink, and that gives even more of the representation of the flag by having the white star over here. So this is great for 4th of July, or just really, you know, when is it not fun to be patriotic? So that's what this pattern is going to be for. And I would like to tell you what I've used to make this pattern. I have used the Lion Brand Yarn Kitchen Cotton, which is 100% cotton. It's nice because it'll wick up any moisture and it's washable and all of that. And I have used US 8 or 5mm knitting needles. I'm using circular. You don't necessarily have to use circular. You can use a set of straights. I just tend to use circular for pretty much everything, but a set of straights is perfectly fine since this isn't being worked in the round. Alright, and of course I've used the red, white, and blue, which in the case of this yarn, the red is called cayenne, the white is called vanilla, and the blue is called blueberry, which is fun because they're all kind of picnicky food names, which is awesome. I love it. So why don't I begin and show you how to make this pattern. This pattern is actually started from one corner and worked to the opposite corner. So this little sample that I'm going to show you starts up here, which on the placemat was the top left corner of this, the blue top left corner of the placemat, and it's worked diagonally this way. So to begin, we're increasing on both sides, and then we're going to turn one corner. So and continue increasing on this side and start decreasing on this side, and we're going to work a straight section. And then we're going to turn this corner and start decreasing on both sides to come down. So I'm going to show you all of those sections. The double increase that opens up your rectangle, then turning the corner and your increase and decrease section that makes the straight, and then turning the corner and your double decrease section that closes up the rectangle. To begin your double increase section, you simply need to cast on 2. So cast on 2 and whatever method works, okay? It's not how you cast on isn't all that incredibly important. Just get 2 stitches on your needles. And for pretty much all of this pattern, there's one little turn when you're going to do something different, but other than the one little turn that we'll get to towards the end, your purl rows are just purl across. So we are going to purl across. Alright, they're actually, the very first one we're going to purl both stitches, and after this we'll slip the first stitch, but we'll get to that. So purl both stitches. Now we are going to turn. Here, row 2, you're going to knit front and back twice. So to knit front and back, you first begin a knit stitch like you normally would. Now when you get to this point where you would normally pull the first stitch off, the stitch you worked into off, you don't pull it off. Instead, you go ahead and you knit into the back of the stitch as well. Now you pull that stitch off. So I'll show you that again. You begin your knit stitches as normal, inserting into the front, yarn over, and and pull that stitch through, and then you do not pull off your original stitch. You now insert your needle into the back. Okay, insert your needle into the back, wrap the yarn around, pull it through there, and then pull the other needle out, or slip it off your needle, in which case, since it's the last stitch, you're pulling that needle out altogether. Now, odd row again, which means we slip a stitch purlwise. To slip the stitch purlwise, you go in as if you're going to purl, but instead of purling, you just slip it right off the hook, the needle, and then we purl across. This is row 3. For row 4, we are now going to slip a stitch knitwise, knit front and back twice, and then knit 1. So, to slip the stitch knitwise, you go in as if you're going to knit, but instead of knitting, you just simply slip. Now knit front and back twice. So again, just like we did before, into the front and knit into the back. And then a second time, knit into the front and knit into the back. And then knit the last stitch. And then row 5 is another purl row, so you slip the first stitch purlwise and purl across. The first few rows are each kind of a unique row on the evens, and then we get to the point where we're going to just be able to repeat for a while. Now we're on row 6. For row 6, you slip 1 knitwise, you knit 2, 1, 2, then yarn over, which works as an increase in this pattern, and then knit the last 3. 1, 2, 3. Then of course we have another purl row. Slip 1 purlwise, purl to end. Row 8, we are going to slip 1 knitwise, knit 2, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 3. So I'll show you that. And it's really essentially the beginning of the repeat section, but I give you the repeat instructions on row 10 just to be a little clearer. So we slip 1 knitwise and knit 2 more, which gives us 3 stitches on our right hand needle, right? You see 3? Then we yarn over, we knit 1, and now we have just 3 stitches left on our left hand needle. We yarn over and we knit the last 3. Now another purl row, and then we're going to get to the row that's written for the repeat pattern. Now we are ready for row 10, and row 10 and 11 are our repeat rows. So row 11 is of course one of the purl rows that we've been just repeating anyway, but row 10 is the repeat row that includes our increases that we are going to keep on going with row 10 and 11 until you get your double increase area, which is this part right here, as big as you want. So until basically your shorter side is as long as you want it. That's how long we're going to continue repeating rows 10 and 11. So let me show you row 10 here. Row 10 is slip 1 knitwise and then knit 2. And that means you now have 3 stitches on your right hand needle. And this is your 3-stitch border. This entire pattern has a 3-stitch border around the side. So there's your 3-stitch border. And now you're going to yarn over, which is your increase, and then you are going to knit until there's only 3 stitches left on your left needle. Until only 3 stitches remain on your left needle. So there we go. 3 stitches are remaining on my left hand needle, and that is my border on my other side. So now I'm going to yarn over again and knit the last 3. And I'll show you that repeat row a couple more times. Now that was row 10, and then row 11 is the other repeat. And row 11 is the same purl row we've been doing. Slip 1 purlwise, purl across. So those 2 rows, 10 and 11, are going to be repeated until we're ready to turn our corner. And like I said, I've attached the pattern so you can see at what point you need to change the color if you want to follow my color pattern for this placemat, and how many stitches I used before I turned my corner as well, if you want it the same size as my placemat. So here we go. We're going to repeat row 10 again, which is slip 1 knitwise, knit 2. There are now 3 stitches on my right hand needle, and I yarn over. And now I'm going to knit until there are only 3 stitches remaining on my left hand needle. So I'm just going to knit across until there's 3 stitches remaining. 3 stitches remaining on my left hand needle. Now I yarn over and knit the last 3 stitches. So basically you get 3 stitches on one side, you yarn over, you go until there's only 3 stitches left, and you yarn over again. Okay, that's all. You're just knitting with a yarn over in between. You're just knitting across. There's a yarn over after 3 stitches and a yarn over right before there's 3 stitches left. And then everything in the middle of that is knit. That's all that this repeat is. I'm going to do that one more time, and then we are going to start our straight section, because this is our double increase section where we're working from that top left hand corner, and we're increasing on both sides to make this little rectangle grow, right? Once we get it to the point where our shorter side is as long as we want it, that's when we're going to start the straight section. Let me do one more repeat. Slip 1 knitwise, knit 2, and that gives me 3 stitches over here. Yarn over, knit until only 3 stitches remain on the left hand needle. Okay, there's 3 stitches left on my left hand. Oopsie, not anymore, there's not. There's 3 stitches remaining on my left hand needle. I'm going to yarn over, and then I'm going to knit those last 3 stitches. Right, and then we are going to purl across. Again, slip 1 purlwise, purl across. That's row 11 being repeated, since our repeats are rows 10 and 11. And I lost that because I split the yarn and tried to fix it. There we go. Yep, and knit and purl across. And then we are going to start our straight across section. Okay, we are ready for our straight section, which is a decrease and an increase. Now, in order to maintain the continuity, some fancy words for you, in order to maintain the continuity of always having the odd rows be the purl across rows, the pattern is written as such that you repeat rows 10 and 11 until you're at the size that you want your shorter side to be. Okay, and again, those numbers are in the pattern that I've attached. And for this large placemat, you're going to do that until there are 75 stitches on your across your needles. And then you repeat row 10 once more, which, if you're making this large placemat, would give you 77 stitches, because that's a knit row that has those increases in it. Then the decrease and increase section starts with a purl row, because row 1 is an odd number, and I just wanted to maintain the continuity of all the odd rows being purl rows, just to be a little less confusing. So I've done the row 1 of the decrease and increase section, which was the slip 1 purlwise and purl across, and now I'm ready for row 2, which is the first row of our corner turn. Alright, so to complete row 2, basically what happens here is we're going to turn the corner, and to do that we're going to keep this side of our rectangle going straight across this way, but we want to turn this corner, and instead of having this side of our rectangle row going straight this way, we now want it to turn and go straight that way. We want to make a 90-degree turn. Over here, we're increasing to get this straight across, and over here we're going to need to decrease. So you'll see how we do that. But the important thing to note is when you turn that corner, this is going to get really stretched. Your little border piece would get really stretched if we just turned the corner without adding some extra stitches. So in row 2 and 4 of our straight section, right when we turn the corner, we're going to add a few extra stitches right here on the border section so that we can turn the corner without really pulling on our border too much. And that will make sense in a minute. You can see here, let me pull this down here, okay? You see how I've turned this corner here? There needs to be there's extra stitches right in here, because if there weren't extra stitches, it would be pulled really tightly. I've already blocked this piece. This definitely needs to be blocked when it's done, because it sometimes ends up kind of more angular than it doesn't have 90-degree angles when you're done knitting it. You often need to block it. You see how this kind of pulls this way? You just need to block it to pull it the other way, and then everything's good. But there are extra stitches right here, so your corner turns a little better. So let me show you how to get those extra stitches in and how to start doing your straight section. And it's really pretty simple. All you're going to do is slip 1 knitwise and knit 2. And you're just going to do a little short row section. You're now going to turn, slip 1 purlwise and purl 2. Okay, so you just added those a few extra stitches right there. And now we're going to slip 1 knitwise again and knit 1, and here's where we start our decreases to turn our corner. Next we do a slip slip knit, which means you slip 1, 2 stitches. Okay, let me show you that again. Go in as if to knit. You're slipping 1, 2 stitches. And now what you're going to do is you're going to knit both of those stitches together. To do that, you come in to the right of those 2 stitches and you pick them both up on your left hand needle. You then yarn over and knit those stitches together, and that is a slip slip knit. Okay, now we yarn over, and now we do a knit 2 together, which is coming over here to the left of these 2 stitches. Instead of going under just 1 stitch, we're going under 2 stitches, and we're knitting underneath. We're knitting both of those stitches together as if they're one. All right. Now we are going to continue to just knit until there are 3 stitches left. And row 4 is the same as row 2, so you'll get to see this all again. Okay, there's 3 stitches left. I'm going to yarn over and knit my last 3 stitches. So that end is still the same as it was before, because we're continuing to keep this side going in the same direction. And the purl is still the same as it was before, the purl row. Slip 1 purlwise and purl across. Now row 4 is worked the same as we worked row 2, so you get to see this all again. Slip 1 knitwise, knit 2, then turn, slip 1 purlwise, purl 2, then turn. Now we're going to slip 1 knitwise, knit 1, and do the slip slip knit, which is slip, slip, and then knit both of them together. Yarn over and then knit 2 together. You can see the reason we do that, those two different stitches, is because they face in two different directions and it gives us a nicer look. If we did the same stitch both ways on both sides, the angles of those decreases would be such that it wouldn't look so nice. Okay, and when we continue along with the straight section here after this, I'll show you a different way, a stitch to do in place of that slip slip knit that ends up looking exactly the same. It's the same stitch, it's just done in a different manner that I find a lot easier. So I'm now knitting across until there's 3 stitches left. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to knit those last 3 stitches. And then we have our purl row, which is slip 1 purlwise and purl to the end. Okay, so we have turned our corner, you see, and we've added a few extra stitches as we've turned our corner so that the border actually turns nicely instead of pulling. And now we want to continue in this manner straight across without adding any extra stitches. So that's what I'm going to show you next in row 6. Rows 6 and 7 are our repeat rows for the straight section. So once we get rows 6 and 7 down, you're going to keep repeating them until you're ready to turn this corner. All right? When I do this, I've written the pattern with slip slip knit for this decrease because that is what most people are familiar with. I'm going to show you knit 2 together through the back loop because I find it quicker and easier. I like it better for pretty much every reason you can think of. So, and it's the same exact stitch. What comes off the needle is exactly the same either way you do it. I just think this way is much more user-friendly. However, slip slip knit, I think it's just easier to write SSK than K2TOGTBL. So people tend to write the slip slip knit abbreviation. That's my theory at least. But I'm going to show you knit 2 together through the back loop, which can be used interchangeably with slip slip knit pretty much anywhere. I can't imagine any reason why you can't interchange it since what comes off the needle is exactly the same. Okay, so we're going to knit 1, we're going to slip 1 knitwise and knit 1. And then we have our slip slip knit, but rather than doing it the manner that I showed you, you're actually going to go ahead and just insert your hook, your needle, through the back loops of the next 2 stitches. Okay, instead of coming through here, we're going to slip through the back loops of the next 2 stitches. Just like that. So your right needle ends up behind your left needle, and then you're just going to knit. So you just knit 2 together, but you knit them through the back loop instead of the front. And it's the same exact stitch that comes off your needles this way. We yarn over, and now we knit 2 together in the traditional manner through the front loop. All right? It's that easy. The first time I saw that, I was just like, really? Why isn't that what we always do? I really think it's because the abbreviation is a pain, but whatever. Now we're going to knit until only 3 stitches remain, and then I will show you row 6 and 7 again, or at least I'll show you row 6 one more time, and then we will work on turning the other corner. So we knit till 3 stitches remain, we yarn over, and we knit the last 3. And that's row 6. Now we're going to repeat row 7, which is the purl, slip 1 purlwise purl across. Alright, I'm going to show you row 6 one more time. For this straight section, you basically are repeating rows 6 and 7 until you are ready to turn this corner, and then you repeat row 6 one more time, okay, because again you are ending on a row 6 so that our next section can start row 1 being a purl row to be consistent with the odd rows being purls. Okay, so row 6 one more time is slip 1 knitwise, knit 1, slip slip knit, or same exact stitch done in a different manner, knit 2 together through the back loop. So I go through 2 stitches through the back and knit them together. I then yarn over and I knit 2 together through the front in the traditional manner. And then I knit until 3 stitches remain. That's 4, and 3 stitches remaining on my left needle. Oopsie. Look at that, right off the screen. 3 stitches remaining on my left needle. Yarn over and knit 3. Right? And that is row 6 one more time. Now we are ready for our double decrease section. Okay, we have ended on an even number row, which was a knit row. We have been increasing over here and decreasing over here, which gives us our straight section. What we're going to do now is we're going to turn this corner and make double decreases, which will bring us down to a point. Like I said, we ended on an even numbered row, which was a repeat of row 6 from the previous section, and that is a knit row. And now we're ready to start on an odd row. And rows 1 and 3 of this double decrease section are the 2 rows that are not done like the rest of the purl rows. They're the unique purl rows, okay? So let me show you rows 1 and 3. They're the same. They're 1 and 3 are actually both done the same, so you'll get to see it twice. So for row 1 of this double decrease section, we are going to slip 1 purlwise and purl 2. And rows 1 and 3 are where we add in those extra stitches so that we can turn that corner without pulling the border. So you can probably figure out what we do next. We now turn, we slip 1 knitwise, and we knit the last 2. And that gave us extra stitches on this little border section. And now we turn again. And now to complete row 1, we slip 1 purlwise and we purl to end. Okay, so that's just a purl row with a few extra stitches on those first 3 on that border section so that things turn a little nicer. Now for our double decrease section, we actually want to do the decreases here that we were doing before, and we're going to actually just then repeat them over here, and you'll see what that means. It's pretty simple. We slip 1 knitwise, we knit 1, and then you slip slip knit or knit 2 together through the back loop. Yarn over, knit 2 together through the front loop, and then knit until 6 stitches remain this time, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 stitches remaining. Now we're going to slip slip knit or knit 2 together through the back loop, either way. We are going to yarn over and we are going to knit 2 together. And then knit the last 2 stitches. Okay. And that puts a decrease on this side as well. Now we are going to repeat rows 1 and 2 again. Remember, row 1 has the few extra stitches for our turn. Okay, so rows 1 and 3 have extra stitches added in for our turn, and then after that we're going to go back to the normal purl rows. So row 3, which is worked the same as row 1, slip 1 purlwise, purl 2. Turn, slip 1 knitwise, knit 2. Turn, slip 1 purlwise, purl to the end. Alright, and now we're on to row 6. Row 6 and 7 are our repeat sections that we're going to keep doing until we get down to just 11 stitches. So row 6, it's actually worked the same way as row 2 and 4 were. All right, so I'm just going to show you this section once. We're going to slip 1 knitwise, knit 1, knit 2 together through the back loop or slip slip knit, yarn over, knit 2 together, knit until 6 stitches remain. Nope, which in this case was only 1. Now that 6 stitches remain, we slip slip knit, yarn over, knit 2 together, and knit the last 2. Now you do this until 13 stitches remain, and then you repeat row 6 once more so that there are 11 you repeat row 6 and 7, and then 6 and 7 and 6 and 7 until there are 13 stitches left on your hooks, on your needles. Then when there's 13 stitches left on your needles, you repeat row 6 one more time, so there'll be 11 stitches left on your needles. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that was essentially my repeating row 6 once more, so there are now 11 stitches left on my needles. And now I'm ready for the finishing section. I'm ready for putting the little point at the very end here. So I turn my work, and I slip 1 purlwise, purl to end. Alright, we slipped 1 purlwise, purl to end, and now we're ready for row 2 of our little finishing section. We slip 1 knitwise, knit 1, slip slip knit or knit 2 together through the back loop, yarn over, and now here's where things get a little different. We're going to slip 1 purlwise, and we are now going to knit 2 together. Now we're taking the stitch that we slipped and passing it over the stitch that we just made. Now yarn over, knit 2 together, and knit the last 2 stitches. There are now 9 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? We turn and we slip 1 purlwise, purl to end. Okay, now we turn again, and we're on to row 4 of our finishing section. For row 4, we slip 1 knitwise, we knit 1, you slip slip knit or knit 2 together through the back loop, same thing, slip 1 purlwise, knit 2 together, pass the slip stitch over, okay, and then knit 2. And this has brought us down to 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Turn, slip 1 purlwise, purl to end. We're almost there. So tempting to just end it off. Right? You're like, I'm almost done. All right, row 6. So close. Slip 1 knitwise. Slip slip knit or knit 2 through the back loop. Knit 2 together. And knit the last stitch. We're down to 4. So close. Turn. Slip 1 purlwise, Purl to end. 1, 2, 3, turn. Slip, slip, knit, or knit 2 together through the back loop. Knit 2 together. Okay, and now you can finish. And the way that I finish is I actually take this stitch here, pass it over this stitch, and then I clip this yarn and I pull that end through this loop once it's clipped. I know it's not clipped right now, but if it was, I'd pull it through and I'd pull it tight and then I'd weave in the ends. And that would give me this little rectangle. And again, you can see that the rectangle, it does want to pull this way, and the larger you make your placemat, the more obvious this is going to be. So you do need to block this. You can steam block it, you can wet block it, whatever you want, however you want to block it. And you know, I then pin mine down from the wrong side and pin it into a nice rectangular shape like you want your placemat to be. And it does conform to that shape once you give it a little bit of blocking. Everything's good. Okay, and you can see that on this side. So again, if you follow the pattern that I have attached, it will give you the numbers, when to change colors and everything, so that you can make this patriotic striped placemat. But these are all the techniques you need to know in order to achieve it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy your placemat.